Good morning and welcome to the 15th free webinar Friday with me, Chris Dan of Market Your Clinic Online. This is the last in our current series of Google Business Profile webinars, and we're going to look at grey hat Google Business Profile tactics. If you are watching live and you have any questions at all about clinic marketing, feel free to drop them in the chat and I will chat about them once we're talked about grey hat GBP tactics. You can come up here and join me in the studio as well if you want, and we'll have a live discussion, or just drop your questions in the chat. If you're watching the replay, hello to you. So let's get stuck in. What is a grey hat Google Business Profile tactic? So just to take a step back, what is a Google Business Profile? Let's have a look. I'll just take this off for a second and share something else. Sorry, remove. Stop and share screen. So as you may well know, your Google Business Profile is this basically. So if I search Google for something, this is the Google Business Profile of the Covent Garden Dental Practice. So it comes up with photos, it comes up with information about the business, questions and answers, posts they've done, links to their website, and so on and so forth. So that's an absolutely crucial piece of marketing your clinic, is your Google Business Profile. And what we'll look at today is what we call grey hat tactics. So in SEO, we talk about white hat and grey hat and black hat tactics. So white hat tactics are things that you should do that are legitimate. Black hat tactics are things that are kind of a bit naughty that you shouldn't really be doing, but some people do them and some people don't. So we're going to look at some of these grey hat things that are kind of, maybe not completely in line with the guidelines, maybe not completely what you should be doing, but whether you should be doing them, pros and cons of doing them, how to spot if your competitors are doing them, and what they are basically. So without any further ado, let's have a look at the first one, which is name spam. I've talked about this in a previous webinar. Name spam is essentially calling your business something that it's not, and it's something that is technically completely against the Google guidelines. It's something you could be reported for. It's something also that I highly recommend doing, that everyone in clinic marketing does. So if my business is called Harry's Hands and I'm a massage therapist in Leicester, I don't just call my Google Business Profile Harry's Hands, which is what technically you should do. I call my business profile Harry's Hands Massage Therapy in Leicester, to hit people who are searching for massage therapy in Leicester. Now, like I said, technically that's against all the guidelines. A competitor or a competitor's marketing agency could report you to Google for that and have your profile edited, dock your SEO a little bit. In reality, in our space, so they're in other spaces, like, I hear about other SEOs and so on, who basically spend all day just reporting competitors' businesses for name spamming. In clinic marketing, people don't tend to do it. Like our clients' competitors are name spamming, we're name spamming. Everyone just kind of lets everyone get on with it. And as I've mentioned before, I'm not going to cast the first stone in making clinic marketing more cutthroat and everyone reporting each other for just putting their service and location in their Google Business Profile. So although this is technically against the rules, although technically you could be reported for it, I highly encourage you to do it if you're in the clinic space, if you're running a clinic, because everybody does it and we all just kind of let each other get away with it. It's okay. So moving on to the next one, which is having all these other ones about having multiple Google Business Profiles, even though you only have one business. So the first one is to have a location Google Business Profile plus a service area Google Business Profile. And a lot of people do this kind of unwittingly. I've seen people do this without any sort of intent, just not realizing that's not how you're supposed to do it. So basically, if you're a physical location, if you're a clinic, you should set your Google Business Profile up with an address, with a location. If you go do visits to people, then you should set your Google Business Profile up as a service area business. And you can have one Google Business Profile, which is both of these. It can be a physical location and it can also be a service area. And what some people do is they set up one Google Business Profile with a physical location, and then they set up a separate one as a service area. And like I said, a lot of people do this without really realizing. They go on, they set their Google Business Profile up, and then they say, well, maybe I do visits as well, so I guess I should set up another Google Business Profile for my visits. No, technically you shouldn't. You can merge them with both. What we tend to recommend is that you set a service area anyway, whether you do actual visits or not, which is also a bit of a grey hat tactic, because you shouldn't be doing that unless you're actually doing visits. So that's one way of setting up multiple Google business profiles, is to have one a physical location, and two, a service area. Another way of having multiple Google business profiles is, it says there, B, having a profile for each clinician. So let's say you're a private hospital. You might have a Google business profile for the hospital, which is, the Greenwich Bridge Hospital. There is no such thing as the Greenwich Bridge, but let's call it the Greenwich Bridge Hospital. And then you also have Dr. Kumar, who works there. And Dr. Kumar has his own Google business profile with his own reviews and his own about me and so on. And then you have Dr. Iyengar, who works there, and Dr. Iyengar has her own Google business profile and her own reviews and her own about me and everything else. So that way you can kind of stack up multiple Google business profiles by having one for the clinic and one for everyone that works there. Now, this is actually something that Google says, yes, you can do that. That's entirely legitimate, because it's quite reasonable that every person working at a clinic has their own Google business profile. They still have their own individual reviews. They can all have their own individual primary categories. So if one of them is an optometrist, one of them is a physiotherapist, one of them is a dentist, they can all have their own primary categories, so people can actually find them. And then they can all have their own about me, they can all have their own reviews. And then if they move to another hospital in the future, it's quite legitimate that they take their reviews with them, and so on and so forth. So that's a perfectly legitimate way, in Google's eyes at least, to stack up multiple Google business profiles for the same location. So what about the pros and cons of doing this? Why would we want to have or not want to have multiple Google business profiles? Well, the simple answer for the pros, which you've probably already figured out, is, let's go back to that Google business profile. Here we go. So here I've actually done a search, you might be able to see, the dentist near me, right? There we go, you can see up top there, dentist near me. And what comes up is, come on computer, what comes up is these three top results, which are called the local pack in local SEO. Now, it's not necessary that I'm necessarily going to pick one of these three businesses from the local pack. I might click through to the maps and try all of these other businesses that come up. I might scroll down here into the organic results and try some of these other results that come up. But the fact is that Google is giving me these three, and it's kind of presenting me these initial three businesses as, suggesting these are the best. You want one of these three, right? So let's say, for argument's sake, that if you get in this map pack, there's a 1 in 3 chance that I'm going to pick your business over your competitors, right? So what if you could be 2 of those 3 slots? You then stand a 2 in 3 chance of being picked. What if all 3 of those slots are taken up by you? What if the first one is the Covent Garden dental practice, the second one is the service area business of the Covent Garden dental practice, and the third one is the primary practitioner of the Covent Garden dental practice? As a patient, as a potential patient, I'm going to look and I'm going to say, oh, okay, so Covent Garden dental practice. Oh, right, that's also Covent Garden dental practice, but a different listing. And oh, this is Dr. Kumar, and he works at the Covent Garden dental practice. Well, it looks to me like the Covent Garden dental practice is definitely the place to go around here, because Google's really recommending that to me. I'll book an appointment there. So that's the massive advantage of having multiple Google business profiles, is that you take up more space. You're not forcing your competitors out of that map pack. You're far more likely to be chosen. So why don't we all do this then? What are the cons? What are the potential downsides of doing this? Well, the potential downside is that you're diluting everything. So if you have one Google business profile, you're putting all of your energy into it, all of your reviews are going to it, all of your SEO kudos in Google's eyes is going to that one Google business profile, which means it's far more likely to rank. Whereas if you've got 3, 4, 5 Google business profiles, you're splitting your reviews between them. You're splitting, what Google sees as the authority is split between all of them, which means where you set up your 3 Google business profiles thinking you're going to hit spots 1, 2, and 3 in this map pack, maybe you won't hit any of them at all because everything's so diluted. Whereas before you might have hit number 1, but not number 2 and number 3. That's one disadvantage to having multiple Google Business Profiles. The other disadvantage to having multiple Google Business Profiles, depending on what your role is, whether you're a clinician working at a clinic or whether you're the clinic. But let's say you're the clinic. The other disadvantage is that people have their own Google Business Profiles, which means they have their own reviews, which means when they leave, they can take their reviews with them. So people aren't necessarily reviewing the clinic, they're reviewing the clinician. Now, if you're a clinician and you might work at a different clinic in the future, or you might set up your own practice, that's perfect. That's exactly what you want. You want to get 55-star reviews while you're working at this clinic, which you can then take with you when you go somewhere else. If you're running a clinic, that's probably not what you want. You want to have everyone giving their reviews to your clinic. You're building up authority for your clinic's Google Business Profile, and you don't want an individual clinician to be able to build up their own reviews, which they'll then take with them. You want your own clinic to be getting them. And that's something that every clinic has to think about with their staff, that every clinician has to think about. And what's the dynamic? Generally, if you're a clinic who is paying for advertising and employing staff, then you're going to have one Google Business Profile. If you're a clinician who's renting a room, then I would say you probably should have your own Google Business Profile. If that clinic is not doing marketing for you, if they're not being proactive in getting you patients, if you're literally just renting a room from them, it's more appropriate that you have your own Google Business Profile. So on to the very last one now then, which is fake locations. This is another way of boosting the number of Google Business Profiles that you have, but also a way of increasing the reach of your SEO efforts, basically. So let's say I've got a clinic here in Greenwich, and I've got a Google Business Profile and I'm ranking maybe a mile away from here, from the clinic. But after that, I'm not ranking at all. Well, what if I had another Google Business Profile a mile away, and another one 2 miles away, and another one 3 miles away, so that I'm ranking all these different locations? If someone types in near me, I'm always near them because I've set up Google Business Profiles in all these different locations. And then when someone phones up, or when someone goes to the website and so on, they say, oh, I see you're just around the corner from me. I say, oh, I'm really sorry. We've actually temporarily closed that one. We're not taking patients there at the moment because so-and-so is on maternity leave or whatever. Can you come and visit us in our other clinic, which is actually 2 miles away from you? And hopefully they'll say, yeah, I can, because you've already made that connection. So that's the logic behind having fake locations for your Google Business Profile. There are a few ways that clinics typically do this. So one is if you are practicing at a location and then you move to another location. So I've already got my clinic here and I move to another clinic here. So what you should do is move the Google Business Profile. You should change the address so that all the reviews, all the everything just move straight to the new address and you no longer exist at the old address. But what some people do is just leave the old Google Business Profile because it's performing, because it's ranking, people are going to it, set up a brand new one at the new location. And again, when people come through from the old one, they say, oh, I'm really sorry, we're not practicing there anymore. Come and visit us at our new clinic, which is in such a place. And the patient may well look at it because they've already got all the reviews and the kudos. They'll say, okay, fine, I'll do that. I'll come to your new location. So that's doing it with closed locations. Another way to do it is with home, friends, etc. So there was a spate of this a while back where basically, and there still is a slight, you see people doing this. I've heard of people have phoned me up and say they're doing this and so on, which is where you, let's say I live a mile away from my clinic, right? So I've got a Google Business Profile at my clinic and I'm getting reviews there, it's ranking and so on, but I'd like to increase my reach. What I can do is set up another Google Business Profile from my home address and maybe make that a service area because I don't have a sign and so on. And I'll just set up another Google Business Profile at my home address saying, hello, I'm whatever service I do. And that means that I'm not just ranking here at my clinic, I'm also ranking here around my home. Now, what if my sister lives a mile away and my parents live a couple of miles in the other direction. So I set up another one at my sister's place because she can get the Google postcard and she can put a thing. Set up another one at my parents'. I set up another one at my best mate's place. I set up another one at my drinking buddy from the bar's place. I set up another one with my mate from tennis or whatever. And I can create this kind of network of Google business profiles all over town that are completely fake. They're just based on, where I live, where my friends and family live, and so on and so forth. And that, again, is another way of creating a network of Google business profiles. So when someone types in near me, I'm already near them because I'm everywhere. I'm ubiquitous. Yeah, by virtue of having all of these various Google business profiles. And the final way to do this, that people do this, is just get a virtual location. So to get a virtual office, I've seen people do this with Google business profiles in towns, like, we're not just talking a mile away or 2 miles away. We're talking like, a considerable distance away to get a network of practitioners who will go out and do home visits, and then to find a virtual office in that town, register the Google business profile to the virtual office, and then when people phone up and say, I hear you do home visits in Dublin, and they say, yeah, we do, even though you're based in Manchester or London or wherever else. Yeah, we do. We can help you. We'll send a practitioner to you. Now, all of this, Google have clamped down on it quite a bit because their process of verifying your Google business profile has got a lot tighter, because people were doing all of this a lot more a few years ago. Now, whereas with having, when we looked at same location, multiple profiles, that's legitimate, that's okay. That's not really frowned upon by Google. The first one, a location and service area, tends to happen through accident rather than design. And having multiple profiles, multiple clinicians is seen as perfectly legitimate by Google anyway. Whereas having fake locations, keeping Google business profiles for closed locations, setting up at your house, setting up virtual locations, all of this is very, very, very frowned upon. This is extremely black hat. This is stuff that if Google find you doing it, they will close down your Google business profile. They may well penalize your legitimate Google business profile as well. And it's also something, like I said, as an agency, where, for example, with name spamming, when we see people doing this, we just let them be, even though they're competitors of our clients, because everyone's doing it. We don't want to cast the first stone. If we find competitors doing fake locations, which we do from time to time, we will report them to Google. We will get that closed down, because that is cheating. Now, I don't say cheating with any moral weight behind that. It's business at the end of the day. They say all's fair in love and war, business and everything else. But that's kind of crossing the line into what's really breaking rules. So we will report our clients' competitors if we see them using fake locations, if we see them continuing to use a location that's been closed, if we see them having multiple locations across town which aren't legitimate, and we'll phone them up and say, hello, I'm looking to book an appointment. Can I come to your such and such road practice? And they say, oh, we're not actually practicing there at the moment. I'm like, oh, that's a shame. Okay, great. Well, we'll be in touch another time. Right, report them to Google, and so on. So yeah, you do run a big risk of getting shut down, either when Google find out about it, either because your competitor's marketing agency reports you, or because someone else reports you. So that's everything there is to say about grey hat Google business profile tactics. No one's dropped any questions in the comments today. As always, if you do have any questions at all about clinic marketing, then please drop me a line, book a call with me. I'll be happy to chat, or come on to the next webinar and talk about it then. Starting from next week, we're starting a whole new series of webinars. The next 6 webinars are about SEO, starting next week with the things you should know about hiring an SEO agency. So we'll spill the beans on the inside story of what is going on with SEO agencies from someone who runs one. Then we'll be looking at the basics of SEO, and we'll be looking at how to set up reports, understanding how search works, understanding on-page SEO, and understanding what local ranking factors actually are and what you should be doing to improve your SEO. So all of that starts next week. Do join me, Chris, down at Market Clinic Online, and I look forward to seeing you then. If you're watching live, enjoy the rest of your Friday. It looks like being a reasonably nice day if you're here in the UK. And if you're watching the replay, enjoy the rest of your day wherever you are. And I shall see you again very soon. Thank you and goodbye.